What a tone to start with. Okay, let me just get this camera angle a little bit better. Hey folks, welcome to a live Q&A, number 5, I think this is. So welcome back. Thanks for joining once again. I've got some cool stuff to show you today. This is really bugging me. I do apologise for not sorting this out beforehand, but let me just get this camera angle. Right, I'm sorry you're seeing up my nose right now. That's a little bit better. These things are so primitive at the moment. I appreciate you hanging in there for all the little quirks and whatnot that these live videos entail. I think we seem to be on track now. Right. Hello once again. Let's start again. So, live Q&A. As always, what I'm going to do here is treat this as mainly answering some of your questions that I don't normally get to answer. So if you've had any questions that you've asked us on previous videos in the comments and I haven't got around to answering you, please forgive me, please drop them in here instead. If you've got anything you want to know about the gear that we stock here or anything maybe I've played in recent videos, once again just drop a question in here. And also, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to show you some cool bits of gear, and I couldn't have asked for a better selection of stuff today, really. I'm really pleased with the stuff I'm going to get to show you, so let's dig in. What you'll have heard straight away, I mean there's no bones about this. You may have seen the unboxing video on these guitars this morning that John did. Dale Wilson has struck again. We've got really lucky and managed to secure, I believe, 4 more Dale Wilson Fender Custom Shop guitars today. And it's quite an interesting mix, and I wanted to pick this one in particular. I'm going to tell you why in a moment, but I mean, you can't go wrong with Dale. For anyone who doesn't know, by the way, Dale Wilson is one of the premier Fender Custom Shop master builders, and he's certainly the master builder that is most commonly referred to in our videos. Most people seem to kind of strive to own a Dale Wilson guitar, it seems anyway. A lot of our customer base are really enamoured with Dale's work, as are we. I mean, John has his Dale Wilson, maybe even has 2, I'm not sure, but anytime I've seen or heard or played one, I've been incredibly impressed, and I think basically, you know, all the master builders do incredible work at the custom shop, but I think Dale is the best at replicating all the nuances of vintage guitars, and so it's quite unusual to see variations on the theme. So this guitar, for example, which you may not have even noticed, has a zebra-coloured bridge humbucker, which I think is a first for a Dale that I've seen. Normally he really sticks to the original formula, at least aesthetically. Sometimes, you know, you'll find bigger frets on these guitars, or, you know, certain things under the hood, as Americans like to say, that have been refined and tweaked a little bit. In this case, though, this is quite an obvious change. So you've got this, I believe it's a Seymour Duncan Super 78, so like an EVH style humbucker, coupled with a couple of Fender Custom Shop single coils. I will get the spec up on my iPad, so just so I can make sure I'm telling you a whole bunch of truths. But this guitar is just, I mean, I've just been playing a little bit to set this video up. It's a Dale Wilson, so it's always going to be an absolute winner, but this particular combination with a humbucker is veering into new territory, certainly for Dale Wilson's guitars, and I really like it. I really like the direction he's gone in here. So I'm going to turn off that fuzz pedal that I had. In case you thought the amp was broken or something, I promise you it wasn't. It was a fuzz pedal, which I'm going to talk about later. But let me just show you a little bit more about how this guitar sounds, and then I'm going to talk a bit more about it after that. Here we go. Okay, so you'll be able to tell from that this sounds every bit as good as any other Strat that Dale has ever pushed out of the custom shop doors. It does all the single coil isms of a Strat that you would like. Particularly the neck pickup I think sounds great in this guitar. I mean, I've talked about this in previous videos, right, about the kind of the nature of Dale Wilson's guitars, and it does apply to most of the custom shop guitars anyway, but his always just have this extra little layer that I want to try and unravel. There's basically this kind of enigma of Strat, in particular Strat. It applies to his Telecasters as well, but to Strat tone, which is to have this bell-like crystalline kind of top end. Particularly in the in-between positions, right? But at the same time, that can sometimes sound particularly harsh, especially if you're really digging in. And yet, with Dale's guitars, I never ever fear the treble. I never ever have a worry that notes are going to be too piercing or too striking. Certainly with some guitars I've played, there is that worry, and some people like that kind of more strident top end, but if anyone's ever played the best kind of vintage guitars, which very few of us have unfortunately, but if you've ever played a vintage guitar at all, you'll probably know that part of the magic of it is that open top end that I was just talking about, but at the same time that really smooth edge, that really refined character without sounding dull. So it's kind of like asking for the best of all things, and it seems as though it would be impossible. However, I don't know what he does, but he does it. Dale Wilson's guitars always achieve that exact balance that I'm talking about, and Telecasters are the same thing. It's really interesting to have this dynamic manipulated by a humbucker in this particular guitar. So, what does the humbucker add to things? Well, let me show you clean, and of course I'm going to come onto some gain tones with a humbucker, but I think it balances pretty well, and I think it definitely has that same kind of character that I was just talking about, the balance of warm but bright. Let me see, you can tell me what you think. Right, so you'd never mistake that for a single coil, like a Strat bridge single coil, but what a wealth of tones are in this thing. I mean, when it's wide open, I think it almost has, there's so much clarity in this guitar without any of that strident harshness. It almost sounds like a P90 if you play it really, like kind of what I was just doing there. It's got this sort of mid-rangey snarl, but it's more of an upper mid-range, which you don't normally get out of a humbucker in a Strat-style guitar. Really weird, but in a great way. And then also, I think this can get into slight Gibson territory almost, with the tone rolled back. So the reason I was noodling around so much there, the point I want to make is that this guitar, despite having a humbucking pickup in the bridge, the Dale magic is still there. It's still got all that wonderful little wealth of tones that you expect to uncover from an instrument like this, but with the added benefit, in some people's opinion, of having a humbucking pickup in there. So it's unique, it's different, and I just think it looks awesome as well. I mean, the heavy relic stuff isn't for everyone. Please don't turn the live Q&A into a relic debate today. Some guys love it, some guys hate it. I really like it personally if it's done well, and Dale certainly does it well. I don't know how much of this is going to translate on this video, but you can check out the unboxing after this video is done that we put up this morning. If you'd like to see this guitar in more detail and the rest of the guitars on this shipment, it was a really good selection that came in today. And there will be listing videos coming up soon, whenever that might be, but I'm really glad I got to play this one today for you. So I'm going to have a bit of fun with this guitar now that the introduction is out of the way. Let me also just explain that the amplifier you're hearing today is a little bit of a special piece as well from Fender. Once again, it's one of the Fender limited edition special run Blues Junior amplifiers, and some of you may have seen on our Instagram I was poking a little bit of fun at the fact that this looks like John Mayer in his New Light promo pictures. Basically, the jacket he was wearing, this amplifier looks exactly the same. It's a really cool little box of joy. It's got purple wings with a sort of teal top and back. It's a really cool little amp, and I've just got it cranked up. One thing I like about this particular edition is it's got an, I think it's an Eminence, let me just check. It's got a modified speaker, Cannabis Rex Eminence speaker in there, which sounds really great. It sort of sounds a little bit more full-bodied than the standard Blues Junior speakers sometimes do. So I really like this little amp, and I've got a couple of pedals on the floor I'm going to talk about a little bit later on. So that's the guitar and the amp out of the way. Let me, please let me answer some of your questions, because I feel I was talking quite a lot there, so forgive me for that, for the introduction there. I saw the comments coming in, so I just want to try and get through a few of your questions, and then we'll proceed with the rest of the cool gear as well. So, let's see what we got. Good few greetings today. Once again, I'll just say how cool it is that I get to do these live videos every week, and every time we've got viewers from America, Asia, Europe, obviously the UK as well. It's just such a cool little hub. That's what we want this to be. So thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And it's amazing to see. I really love when you guys comment where you're from, because that's really intriguing to me. So yeah, that's one way that I want to start off by just saying a quick thank you for that. Right. Okay. Omnicognate Senior. I just took delivery of a PRS Hollow Body 2 piezo that you played on YouTube. Congratulations on that guitar, that's excellent. in case anyone doesn't know what you're talking about there, PRS recently unveiled their SE line hollow body guitar, which I think that video seemed to be really well received. We got some great tones out of it. It's such a great guitar, you're really going to enjoy that, so congratulations on that. Casino guitars are in the house, or they were anyway. It's great to see you guys, thank you for commenting. Once again, I did this in a previous live video, but I want to extend a few thank yous to Casino Guitars in the States, who very kindly did a little bit of a profile on our store a few weeks ago, and it was really kind-hearted and really good of you to do that, so thank you guys for that. I really appreciate it, and it's great to see you here as well. Thanks for the support. Hope all is well with you guys over in the States. Okay, so Vasilis, as always, is here with some great questions. So, question number 1. Do you find that lighter guitars are better, or is it just a myth? I personally do think that lighter guitars generally, and when you say better, I'm gonna kind of phrase that as being, I think that they are generally speaking more resonant, maybe sometimes a little bit brighter as well. I don't remember who it was that talked about this. It was a famous guitar player, and I remember, I think it might have been Carl Verheyen, and he mentioned on the subject of weight in guitars, and I happen to agree with this. He said, with a light guitar, I'm going to use this Dale Wilson guitar as an example, because all of Dale's guitars are extremely lightweight. Not to the point of being like literal air, but they are very comfortable for that matter, and they're very resonant. And the rule applies to these that I'm going to lay out here, which is you can kind of manipulate a light guitar in any tonal direction. So with this being a light guitar, like I was just talking about with the pickups, how much variety you can get out of them, I think a lot of it is to do with the weight of the instrument as well. When you've got a light guitar, it's got a lot of inherent resonance, but it also means that you can shape it in any which way you like. You can have it sound very mellow, you can have it sound very thick, you can have it sound really bright. You know, I do think that the weight of the guitar has a lot to do with that kind of directionality that you can apply to it. With a heavier guitar, and this works in some people's favour, like if you find a really heavy Les Paul Custom, for example, that instrument has a tone, and that tone sometimes is fantastic. It's exactly what you want, but it's harder to manipulate it, because that tone that comes from just having so much wood in kind of more of a dense package, I find it a little bit harder to change what that guitar's tone is about. So like I say, it might be a tone that you love, and a lot of people will reference the fact that a lot of heavy Les Pauls and Les Paul Customs sound great, but can you make it spank like you could do with something like this, or a lighter Les Paul? I don't think so. So I don't think it's a myth. I think that there is a lot of merit to having a lighter weight guitar. However, in most contexts, most guitars are within a sort of fairly concise weight bracket anyway. Particularly with Fender Custom Shop, you often find they're all around the same weight. It's not like you get extremes one way or another. So I wouldn't say that if you're buying a Fender Custom Shop, just buy the lightest guitar you can, because I don't think it really applies. But if you were talking about extremes of light guitars and heavy guitars, I do think there's a difference, and I personally prefer lighter guitars just because they're more dynamic, they're more sort of moldable. That's the best way I can put it. But that's just my opinion anyway. Okay. McNasty has a question as well. If you had to choose between a few different amplifiers here, Soldano SLO 30, Dr. Z Maz 38, or a Marshall Studio Classic, what would you pick and why? So what you've done there is you've provided me with 3 amps that I really like, and they're all totally different to each other. And I don't know if you've done that on purpose, maybe you have, but really those 3 amps have nothing in common. So the Maz is an EL84 powered, I don't want to say it's a Vox style amp, but it's certainly more of a chimey, cleaner style amplifier that has a lot of those upper harmonic overtones. It's an incredible amp. The Marshall Studio Classic is basically, as you've elaborated, a mini JCM 800. There's 20 watt Marshall JCM 800, which is a phenomenal amplifier, And of those Studio Series amps, I probably like that one the most because I think it actually sounds the most like its bigger counterpart. And the Soldano SL030 is a twin channel, highly modified kind of Marshall crossed with a Fender thing, very articulate, certainly has a lot higher gain than either of those other two amps. The only thing that really ties them all together is, I guess, their form factor and roughly their power rating. If I could only choose one, I'd have to say the Maz, because, you know, as evidenced in a lot of our videos, the Maz is just one of the most versatile amps in the world. You can put some pedals into it and have it turn into a high gain machine. You can have a really nice clean sound out of it. Or you can kind of get it to do that mid-gain breakup tone. The Marshall is phenomenal at being a JCM 800. That particular one doesn't maybe excel with the clean tones that the more powerful 100-watt JCM 800s can do, but it certainly does that classic JCM grind. And if you're a hard rock guitarist or a metal guitarist, that Studio Classic amp is phenomenal. If you just want a little gigging amp or something to play at home, it's an absolutely brilliant amp. The Soldano equally it's certainly very versatile, and I think it actually compares very well to its bigger brother, which isn't always the case with those small amps. The SL030 and the SL100 are quite similar. The SL100 obviously has more headroom, and that kind of contributes to its articulate tone, but the 30 does a very good job of being a 30-watt amp and still upholding those Soldano tonal characters. So you can't go wrong with any of those. They're all very different though, and hopefully I've outlined a few of the reasons why, and maybe why you would pick one over the other. To answer your question though, for me, if I could have any one of those three, it would be the Maz. Right, let's see what else you got. Thank you once again for the questions, because there's quite a few coming in. James Martin, Sir Strat or Exotic Strat? Or Fender Strat, of course. Oh, and are those Magnatone amps as good as the Dr. Z? Okay, let me try and answer that briefly. Exotic versus Sir. I think the Sirs are nicer guitars for if you want a bit more of a refined character. They often have a little bit more mid-range. They often sound a little bit more modern, but not to their detriment. Like, you find some S-style guitars are just so far removed from the classic Fender school of thought because they've gone into a more contemporary direction that they lose all sense of what Fenders are about. And Sir definitely don't do that, but they certainly veer more into that direction. So if you want something that has noiseless pickups, well, they are actually true single coil pickups, but they have a dummy coil to make them noiseless. So it's very practical. Their tremolo systems stay in tune impeccably. They're usually, and this is something I haven't pointed out before, but they're usually, bar the Antique series, poly finishes, which everyone goes on about the benefits of nitro, but actually if you just want a guitar that's always going to look good, poly is certainly a more reliable way to go in terms of just maintaining the finish on that guitar. And you know, a few other benefits. I think Sirs, their necks are often very comfortable. The QC is very high. Same things with Exotic, but Exotic is certainly a bit more of a vintage tone. It's certainly closer to this kind of a thing. If you want the classic Fender style thing, Exotic I think is about as good as you can get without actually going down the Fender route. And that's not to Exotic's detriment at all, because they've very much got their own thing with the roasted maple necks and their own raw vintage pickups. So, you know, you're kind of splitting hairs a little bit. I think Exotic maybe if you lean a little bit more vintage, Sir if you lean a little bit more contemporary, but there's a lot of crossover there. I'd certainly love to own one of each, but if you're asking my own personal opinion, I have a Sir Classic Pro and I love it. I use it for a bunch of different styles, so you definitely can't go wrong there. Magnatone amps are fantastic. We don't feature them that often, unfortunately. They do compare quite well to Z's, but obviously Magnatone is its own kind of heritage brand, and they have their own signature sound from the 50s and 60s that they're doing their best to replicate. Whereas Z make their own designs, but they kind of take reference from other brands as well. So I guess it's probably not fair to compare them tonally, but quality-wise, they're on a par. I think they're both the cream of the crop when it comes to American boutique amplifiers. Hopefully that answers your question. Right, so let me get back into this guitar a little bit, because I want to really make a thing of the fact that I've got a Dale Wilson here to show you. This isn't going to happen very often because usually these guitars come in, usually before I've even come into work for the week. Unfortunately, I keep missing them, and then they go out. They go out again. Excuse my voice there. They go out again. Whereas this time round, there's 4, and I've got to play this one for you, so it's great. So let me show you a little bit more of what it sounds like. Territory, people. We really are. Can't talk about the merits of Dale Wilson's guitars enough. If you're in a position to do it, just do it. Do yourself a favour, because they really are kind of the end of the road, from in my opinion anyway, for Strat style guitars and Tele style guitars. If you don't want to venture into the world of vintage, which, let's face it, it is a minefield, and it's so concerning, and there's so many obstacles to avoid in terms of originality of the guitars and stuff like that. If you can afford to do it, save half the money at least and get yourself a Dale Wilson. And it doesn't have to be a heavy relic job, you know, as I say, it's not for everybody, but the way these things play and the way they sound is just second to none. So I think that's all I need to say about a Dale Wilson guitar. It's an absolute thrill to have it in a live video for you. Now, I'm going to answer a couple more questions, and then I'm going to talk about the stuff that I've got on the floor, because I'm really excited about that as well. So let me just make sure I'm not missing anything. I don't want stuff to get kind of lost up the live chat chain here. So, right. Love and Peace asked, SRV pickups with MF guitars, any info? Not as of yet, but I know John is working very hard on some very, very exciting projects with MF guitar pickups to make the kind of Stevie Ray-esque pickup sets, so stay tuned for that, but I have no further info for you as of today. But there's going to be some good stuff on the way. Okay. Let's see, Louis Heldens. Jack, will you demo the Kingtone Rise? Remind me what that is. That's the new Kingtone pedal that's coming out. That I can't remember what it is. I'm sure I will when they arrive. I'm sure I'll get to have a go on it. Sounds exciting. I can't remember what it is, I'm afraid. But yeah, I'm sure we will do a demo of that on the channel. Okay. Okay, Jack, what is your practice routine? I'm going to do the obligatory deferral here, I'm afraid. So thank you, as always, for the questions. And I particularly appreciate the questions that I get about my playing. It's very kind of you to say that stuff. What I will say is that I kind of sort all that stuff out on my own YouTube channel, which will be linked in the description of this video. It's Jack Griffiths Music, so if you want to find out any playing related issues and questions, I'd kindly defer you to my channel. This channel really I want to keep about the gear that we've got in stock here, but thank you very much for those questions. Hopefully I'll be able to answer them over on my own channel, so thank you for bringing it up. I have to mention it every video, but I appreciate that the questions keep coming. Secondly, to Gary Mosley's question about playing, once again, I'll address that stuff on my channel. Thank you very much. Greetings from Sweden. Excellent. How you doing? Just wanted to say that your video demos are very enjoyable. You're a great player. Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. And once again, as I said earlier, it's great to hear all these different people are watching from around the world. Really, really cool. Casino guitars are still here. At least they were when they commented that, probably about 20 minutes ago, but hope you're still there, guys. Does it gent? I'm sure it does, but I'm, come on. I'm sure it does. Looking for a P90 pickup guitar for blues rock, says Herbert Roxas. Can you suggest a good guitar that best takes advantage of the P90 pickups, please? The best P90 loaded guitar I've played recently, bar custom shop level Gibsons and stuff like that, and the Music Man Albert Lee, which I believe has sold. That was an impeccable guitar. Gibson's SG Special, the USA version, which if anyone who does check out my channel, you may have seen, did a couple of videos with that guitar recently, the Pelham Blue one, and it's absolutely an awesome guitar. Gibson have just really got back on form with recreating the best stuff from their past at a much more reasonable price point now, the Gibson USA stuff, and that SG Special is phenomenal. If you only want one P90, then they do a junior as well. But the Special with the two P90s, and there's a Pelham Blue and there's also a Burgundy Mist, those guitars are fantastic. And if you want to hear one of those in action, once again I'd refer you to my channel where I've recently done a couple of videos with that guitar. Love it, love that guitar. So very highly recommend that for a P90 recommendation. Okay, okay, here's a good question from Jim. Hey Jack, greetings from Greece. Once again, hello to a brand new location. Would you buy an ES335 without playing it? Do you find a lot of differences between them in terms of quality, tone and weight? I wouldn't buy one without, well, I wouldn't buy one without hearing it. And that's specifically why we do all the listing demos here, to try and hopefully help some customers out there who don't get the chance to play the guitars before they buy them. I try my best to convey the nature of that specific guitar in video form, which I appreciate isn't always ideal, but there is a marked difference between them. I've just bought a 335 myself, a 64, and I adore it. And I knew straight away, because I've waited for ages to find the right one. They're all amazing, they're all fantastic guitars. I've actually got quite a few behind my head. And whenever I play a 335, especially if you get to play it a little bit loud in a room, and it comes alive when it starts to feedback, they've all got their own thing, but I think there is quite a lot of different tonal variety between them, and it's not a quality thing because they're all fantastic, but there's certainly a tonal difference between, if you're talking custom shop level, the late 50s reissues and the early to mid 60s as well. There is quite a lot of different tonal properties. I'd say the late 50s guitars sound a little bit, I guess they sound a little bit brighter, and the mid 60s, like the one I bought, sounds a little bit more mid-range focused. I think you can rest fairly assured that quality-wise it's not an issue, particularly with custom shop level guitars. But hopefully the videos that we provide here on the channel do some service to each guitar, so hopefully that's enough of a guide that I could possibly offer you remotely to give you some advice on the guitar. But you know, and you also talk about the weight. I don't think there's that much fluctuation with a 335. They're all in the same kind of ballpark. Yeah, everyone that I've played recently that's come through the shop, they've all been great, but when you find the magic one, you know it's the magic one. Okay. Man, I can't keep up with these questions, so I apologise, guys, if I miss out your questions. I will do my best to get through all of these, but I want to show you some more cool gear. So I want to do that now before I answer any more of these. Yeah, because this is great live chat today. Thank you, everyone. Right, I'm going to talk about what's on the floor. We've just taken on a whole bevy of different pedal companies recently, which I'm really pleased about because I love pedals. We all love pedals, and it's the hardest thing in the world to convince yourself not to buy, because pedals compared to guitars and amps anyway are relatively inexpensive, certainly more affordable, and every time a new one comes along you just think, well, I guess I could sample that from this new brand, and then you think, oh no, I don't need it, etc, etc. This time around we've taken on a brand that I'm very excited about because it's one of my favourite pedal brands in existence, and I'm sure a lot of people out there will understand why. We've got Zvex, which is great, and we're working on some videos to try and show you what they're about in case you haven't heard them. But I've got a couple here today, and I've played them both throughout the course of this video. There's so much more than what they get a reputation for, which is kind of the crazy fuzz guys. There are companies out there that crazy fuzz is pretty much all they do. Zvex is not one of them. They really have a very, very well-attuned musical ear, and the two pedals I'm going to show you here today kind of emphasise not only that, but also to show you that they are the originators of crazy fuzz, and it's still one of the most timeless fuzz designs ever. So I've got the Fuzz Factory vertical version, and I've got the Distortron, which is basically a distillation of the Box of Rock, which is their take on a JTM 45, sort of a low gain Marshall thing. So I've got both of those. Let me show you what it sounds like. I'm going to show you the Distortron first of all. It's an amazing sounding little distortion pedal. I really like it. Here's what it does to this Blues Junior. So we talk about gain pedals that clean up and sort of meld with an amp tone a lot, and in my opinion, sometimes what's better than those real transparent pedals are pedals that claim to sound like amps, because usually what we mean when we say we want a transparent drive pedal is not necessarily that, because if you've got a Fender clean, not everyone likes the sound of a Fender amp distorted, so a transparent pedal isn't necessarily going to do what you want it to do. What I actually think works better sometimes is a pedal like this that tries to replicate the sound of a naturally overdriven amp, and not a really high gain sound, but like the case with this being a JTM Marshall kind of a thing. It changes the character just enough to make distortion work. So let me explain what I mean by that. I love pedals where you can sometimes not even tell that you've turned it on. So let me play a little bit. I'm going to turn the pedal on and off, and you see if you can decipher when I'm turning it on and off. I mean, you'll probably hear the pedal clicking, but I'm not going to tell you whether I'm going to start with it on or off. So let me, see what you can decipher. Okay, you can probably tell when I'm turning it on and off, but the point is that transparency is key there, and this pedal is fantastic for that. It cleans up really nice. stacks well with other gain pedals that, you know, do different things. Like if you've got a mid-pushed overdrive, like a Tube Screamer, pushed into something like that, sounds impeccable. So I want to challenge your perceptions a little bit. Maybe if you've been on that transparent overdrive quest, maybe instead consider low gain amp style distortions like this, the Distortron from Zevex. It's fantastic. It's orange, which is one of the best colours for pedals, and it's capable of considerably more gain than that too. Let me crank up the gain and you'll hear. Just sounds like a great cranked up amp, and that's what I like out of an overdrive pedal anyway. There's a few options available on the market to do that, but I think this Zevex is one of the better ones. So they're not just a crazy fuzz pedal company, but at the same time so yeah, they do that stuff too. This is the Fuzz Factory. This is the vertical one. It's one of my favourite fuzz pedals ever made. It really kick-started that trend of just messing with fuzz circuits. And I don't think it's ever really been bettered, to be quite honest with you, because while it can do all that crazy, you know, really off-the-wall stuff, it's got this control on it called stability, and if you turn that all the way up, it's a fairly conventional, really nice sounding fuzz. And it cleans up on the guitar as well. You know, let me try and get some more classic type fuzz tones so you can hear that this does a lot more than just the crazy stuff. So that's kind of the sound I had at the start of this video with the tone rolled down. It can do that, almost the Octavia thing. Which, by the way, the Octavia sound, if anyone hasn't realised, it does the octave up thing, but it does a mean sitar as well. If you pick by the bridge and use the bridge pickup, it's a wealth of tricks, this little Fuzz Factory, but it's just a wicked sounding fuzz. And then, of course, it does the gross stuff too. idea. This does a whole lot of stuff. It's not for everybody, I'm sure, but I just love it. I love that it's mental, but it's also controllable. So hopefully that's a little bit of an insight into Zvex. I think they're one of the best pedal companies going. Check out the full line that we've got on the website anyway. Now, I will get to some more of your questions, but to make sure I don't run out of time, I'm going to show you another piece of cool gear. And then I think I'll round the video off with some more questions. So, what is this, you might ask? Let me play it to you first. So it sounds good, right? When I first saw this guitar quite recently, I assumed, looking at it, it was actually a custom shop guitar. However, it isn't. This is part of the upcoming addition to the Vintera series. This is a road-worn Vintera. So what they've decided to do is revisit those early days that Fender had going when they just started to get into the relicking thing, and they were doing the Road One series, and I actually thought that was a really great series of guitars. So they kind of brought it back under the Vintera setup. So if you've wanted a Vintera guitar before, but you've thought it'd be really nice if maybe they had a little bit of aging on it, and most importantly, nitro finishing. You know, I talked earlier on, or hinted at it anyway, about the benefits of poly versus nitro. It's very much a taste thing. Some people like nitro because it yellows and it gets beaten up. Like, you can't really see because it's a white guitar, but you know, there's a nice little bit of relicking on this thing. So that's basically what this is. If you like Vintera series guitars, but you want something with nitro finishing and a bit of aging and a really comfortable worn-in neck, and this particular guitar is kind of like a 70s Tele Deluxe, I guess. Well, that's exactly what it is. It's what it says in headstock. This is a great addition to anyone's collection, and like I say, just my initial impression, not knowing what this was, I kind of thought, okay, it's another custom shop guitar maybe. You know, so really impressive work. The relicking is great on this. It's not like sometimes with less expensive guitars, brands kind of cut corners, particularly with their relics and their aging. They kind of go for template stuff where it's obvious that it's a relic template. I don't think they've really done that here. I think they've done a good job of making it tasteful, and I think it looks really good, and it plays and sounds great. Let me just show you a little bit more. So you're going to be seeing these very soon. I'm not sure exactly when, but do keep your eyes out on the website for the rest of the road-worn Vintera series guitars. I think they're going to be a real big hit for Fender, as the Vintera series already has been, but particularly for guys who are looking for a road-worn variant. That's exactly what you've got. So stay tuned for this. This is going to be cool. I'm looking forward to seeing what else they come up with in this lineup. Okay, let me pop this down. I did just get a little thing to say that my battery might not last too much longer, so just going to make sure that I'm with it in safe bounds. I think we'll be okay. Right, let me just answer a few more questions and then going to wrap things up for today. Hopefully you can still hear and see me. Okay, Jason Hobbs asks, congrats on the ES335, thank you. What makes a great Les Paul in your personal opinion? Several things. I mean, I like the fact that Les Pauls can sound considerably brighter than they get credit for. So, you know, a good like late 50s, early 60s Les Paul, I think a lot of it has to do with the openness in the top end. I really like, and I know that you just bought a great Les Paul, and I'm sure it has this in spades, just that really gorgeous open top end that sounds like a big Telecaster. That's kind of what I like out of a Les Paul, though there's also a lot of merit, as I discussed earlier, to those sort of heavier, dark, like a different guitar. And it's certainly very different in its cosmetics and its genetic makeup, like the wood combinations and stuff. So, good question. I mean, it's quite a big question, but I like brightness out of a Les Paul, and I think you've probably just picked up a great example of that, so congrats on that. I'm going to try and zip through these. Lloyd Griffiths, I bought the Ibanez AZ HSS. Congratulations to you, sir, and an excellent surname. A. Ahmed, how do you rate the Mesa Boogie Triple Crown? I'm sure I've answered this question before. It's a great amp. I have one and I love it. I use it all the time to gig with. Very versatile amp, and it sounds great in a whole different array of situations. Clean, mid-gain, high gain. It's probably the most versatile Boogie. I think it's taken the crown of the Road King as Boogie's most popular versatile amp, so I love it. I'd rather have a Dale Wilson Masterbuilt Strat than a House. You know what to do, my friend. Right, I'm going to try and get through as many of these as I can. There's quite a lot of questions here, so forgive me guys if I miss some of your questions today. Gary Mosley pointed out nearly some Blackmore in there with the Strat. It gets there, doesn't it? It certainly sounds good for that kind of stuff. A humbucker in a Strat. Obviously Blackmore had the single coil pickup, but that extra little bit of beef in the tone, I love it. Sounds great on that particular guitar too. Okay, looking for a PRS S2 594. Any idea when they're going to arrive at Peach? I don't, I'm afraid. We did have a few of them, and I got to play them, and they're brilliant. They're fantastic guitars, in fact, those S2s. So hopefully very, very soon. I know that, unfortunately, as with everything, the production time on many manufacturers' products has been slowed massively, but PRS are working very hard, I know, to get stuff out. So hopefully very soon we'll see those S2s again. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, yeah, a little bit of love for the Zvex stuff too. I just want to make the point about how great these pedals are again, guys. Check out the Zvex because they're one of my favourite pedal brands, and I'm so pleased that they're in stock now. Right, apologies for the pause. I just want to make sure that I'm trying to get through as many of your questions as possible before I wrap this up today. I think I've covered most things, but in the interest of keeping this a little shorter than I usually do on the live videos, probably going to round this off. Last thing, Jack, I have I have assaulted someone. That's not what this is. Jack, I have a Sir Alt T Pro with Thornbuckers because of you. It's very kind of you. Really versatile act with clear humbucker sounds. Yeah, Alt T Pro, one of the best guitars around. I've said that many times. And incidentally, we've just received some of the Dealer Select Alt T. So if you haven't considered a Sir Alt T before, now, and I'm actually a little bit frustrated because I think it's better than my guitar, and it's very upsetting. The Dealer Select guitar basically has roasted maple neck, Thornbucker pickups once again, and a few new finishes as well. So there's butterscotch, there's Fiesta Red, Shell Pink, really cool finishes on the Alt T. Check those out, guys, because they're some of the best guitars around. Sir Alt T Peach Dealer Select. I think I'm going to wrap this up today, but I really appreciate all the support. This has been a good one, so thank you one and all for your questions. I hope you've enjoyed the gear that I've talked about. One question just made it in. Jason Young, Jack, your Desert Island guitar, Strat, Tele, Les Paul, or 335? Oh! As I've just bought a 335, I'm struggling to find anything that is wrong with that guitar. I'm going to say 335, especially when it's loud, because a feedbacking Gibson semi-hollow body guitar is one of nature's wonders, and everyone should experience it if they haven't done before. Okay, thanks for a great live Q&A, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. I look forward to seeing you next week. Check out the website for any more information. If you'd like to know any more about my playing and stuff like that, as I said, once again, please head to my channel, Jack Griffiths Music. But until next week, I will see you next week. Take care of yourselves. Have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.